2023 is overflowing with exciting movies, big and small, including 10 comic book movies. Today, we are ranking every upcoming 2023 comic book movie from the one I'm least excited for to the one I'm most excited for. Welcome back, comic book movie fans, and what a year we have ahead of us. Marvel, Sony, DC, and everyone in between have tentpole projects looming on the horizon. Some of them look great, some of them not so much. But hey, that's the fun part of these lists, how at the end of the year we can look back and see how our excitement may or may not bite us in the ass. So do not let me have all the fun by myself. Share your excitement rankings in the comments below. Let's see how different our lists are. I listed every 2023 comic book movie in the description below. And if you enjoy list content such as this, I have all my 2022 rankings in this playlist right up here, from excitement rankings, franchise rankings, and the real lists. There's a ton of great conversations to have, and there's a ton of movies to be excited about, so without any further ado, let's get started. Kraven the Hunter would have ranked slightly higher before I ever saw Morbius. I really want to be excited for this film. I love Kraven the Hunter in the comics. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Kraven's Last Hunt. Read it if you have not. I'm a big fan of the director for this film. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. I love Russell Crowe. But everything I hear about this film leaves me less and less excited for it because of all the weird, contrived directions that they're going with this character. Just completely reworking him and fundamentally changing him from what makes Kraven the Hunter an interesting, compelling villain. And on top of that, outside the film itself, I'm just not a fan of what Sony is doing with this universe of Spider-Man characters sans Spider-Man.
Has to do with Spider-Man, I think.
I'm not a fan of Venom or Venom Let There Be Carnage, but they are fast-paced, somewhat exciting, fun movies. You can be entertained while laughing at it or with it. But Morbius was just dreadful. It's the exact same stupidity as Venom, but without the fun. It was morbid to watch that movie, apart from this one sequence.
Have sex, excel, put my hands against, put my best against, put my...
So to me, when it comes to creating and expanding a universe with compelling characters and exciting stories that I want to see more of, Sony has failed 3 times at this point. Maybe Kraven breaks that curse, but Morbius has only sunk to new lows. I'm just not confident. The Flash is up next, and what I will say for this film is that the word of mouth coming out of multiple test screenings has been glowing. Everyone is raving about this film. Not only WB execs, not only the people behind the film itself, but the people who have had the chance to watch it. They all say it's very exciting. I'm a big fan of Michael Keaton. I'm a big fan of Ben Affleck. I'm a big fan of Andy Muschietti. Behind the scenes, this film has an incredible team, and they are adapting one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Flash story with Flashpoint. Problem is, this is the first Flash movie. Flashpoint is not the kickoff point for any character. It is the culmination of several journeys. And it just feels like a mess. Full disclosure, I knew a ton of information about this film before the test screenings ever started, before the multiple reshoots that just feel like they're there to problem solve, which is the purpose of reshoots. But how many problems can you have, and how much can you fix them in these small intervals of time? All the information I've learned about The Flash over the years has only left me less and less excited. And while everyone that has seen it is raving about it, everything I hear is all those pieces of information are actually in the film. So I just don't think it's going to work for me. Outside of that, it's just a film with way too much baggage. All the Ezra Miller stuff that has also happened over the years and no one did anything about it. it just taints the experience. It just taints the excitement going into this film. I am a big defender of separating art from the artist, but there is a line that can be crossed, and to me, Ezra Miller crossed that line. He has tainted the experience, the excitement, not only from me, but I feel sorry for everyone else involved with this film and that it has to work with him after he has been accused and has been mandated to appear in court. And this film just sounds like a mess to me. A mess that Warner Brothers keeps trying to overcorrect. A film that has been shot and reshot across several regimes in that company, where the goal at one point was this, and then it changed to that, and now with the James Gunn, Peter Safran takeover, it has completely changed yet again, and things that they went and reshot are now completely meaningless. The Flash has had big and small issues since its early stages, and it feels like it's constantly running away from the audience, so I can't help but wanting to run away from it. Blue Beetle is a film I have much higher hopes for than The Flash or Kraven the Hunter for two major reasons. One, it got elevated from being an HBO Max streaming movie to a big screen release. And number two, it's a film that is being reworked to be a part of the brand new DC universe going forward. The suit also looks spectacular. That being said, this is just a character I've never been too interested in. So while I'm not actively unexcited for it, I just found myself very indifferent at the moment. I like the look of the poster, and I've enjoyed seeing this character as part of a team in shows like Young Justice. I'm just not connected to Jaime Reyes as many other people are, and that's fantastic. I'm just in a state of indifference right now. I'm null to this film. But a trailer could get me pumped. A trailer could get me on board the hype train. But at this point, we just haven't seen the trailer yet. Conceptually, I could be very interested in Blue Beetle. A coming-of-age story in a superhero movie, I'll eat that up all day. So my excitement can only go up from here. And at the very least, Blue Beetle doesn't have any of the baggage of the two previous movies on this list. Shazam! Fury of the Gods will probably rank much higher to most other people. I'm just not a big fan of that original film. I literally love everyone involved with it. Behind the scenes with the director, David F. Sandberg, and Zachary Levi as Shazam. I love him in this role, but I just didn't connect with that film. As much as I love my superhero movies, the superhero side to that original Shazam movie just falls completely flat for me. It's not exciting, inspiring, or compelling. I much more gravitate towards the family aspect, the drama and conflict with the children and Billy trying to find his mom, and really a place to belong. But interestingly, the trailer for Fury of the Gods illustrates the opposite problem. The action is grander, more exciting. The mythology on Shazam and its connections with the gods, more expansive. But everything else we see from the Shazam family are lame puns and gags and jokes that are so jarring. It doesn't feel like they belong in the same movie. So while it looks like what missed the mark for me in the original is going to win me over, what won me over already is going to completely lose me. And a big problem for me with the Shazam franchise is that Shazam himself has never felt unique in his movies. Since his very first adventure, 4 other people have the same set of powers he does. And I think we could have reserved the Marvel family to the climax of this second movie, where they are combating villains who are in and of themselves a family in turmoil, and the growth for Billy could have been much more compelling. So there's just a collection of missed opportunities that impede this franchise from reaching its full potential. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the first but not last animated film on this list, and it's a tricky one to talk about because we have nothing on this film besides a logo and knowing that Seth Rogen is executive producing it. Seth Rogen has been killing it with his adaptation of comic book properties, and apart from that, there's just a lot of garnered excitement from having grown up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have read and watched multiple versions of these characters. From the 80s cartoon to the 90s movies, the 2003 show, the 2007 movie, the 2012 series, and the Michael Bay live-action movies. For reference, I like all of these versions of the Turtles to different degrees. So I'm just very excited to see how Seth Rogen just kills it with his new interpretation of these characters. And it's an animated movie on the big screen, focused on the Turtles. I think we're going to get something very different, but nevertheless faithful to the core identity of what has made the Turtles really timeless and has made several generations at this point fall in love with Leo, Raph, Donnie, and Mikey. And like with other films on this list, it could shuffle up or down a few spots whenever we get that first look and see character posters or a trailer, get a glimpse at the animation style, character designs, learn who is voicing our Turtles, Splinter, April, and the villains. Whoever the villains are going to be. I have genuinely no idea what the story is going to be for this film, who's going to be in it apart from the Turtles. That's what leaves me so excited. That's what makes me want to grab a bucket of popcorn, sit at the cinema, and yell Cowabunga. The Marvels, and I would be lying if I said that Captain Marvel is one of my favorite MCU movies. But I'd also be lying if I said I didn't like Captain Marvel, if I said I don't love Brie Larson, and if the fact that this is an ensemble, a cosmic adventure ensemble with 3 heroes, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and one of the most lovable characters / actors, Iman Vellani, as Miss Marvel. This film is going to be wacky. This film is going to be weird. This film is going to be super creative. All the information that we know as of right now makes this sound like a super fun time. You got bits of cosmic adventure. You got bits of that style and coming of age sort of whimsy Scott Pilgrimness from Ms. Marvel. And Monica Rambeau kind of stole the show with every scene she was in WandaVision. I just cannot wait to see these 3 clash, not only with their unique sets of powers, but their distinct, lively personalities, where you got a veteran superhero, someone who just came into their powers but has a personal relationship, and a literal kid who loves everything about this but is sure to feel overwhelmed in this adventure. There's so much secrecy also about this film that makes me very intrigued. Despite knowing the creative directions Nia DaCosta is bringing to the film's set pieces, I am completely unaware of a proper storyline and plot for this film, and that's what leaves me so intrigued and curious about it, where the director's voice continues to shine through from Phase 4 into Phase 5 of the MCU, where this film just looks, sounds, and feels so distinct from its predecessor. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 carries a bittersweet undertone with it. It's the last adventure with the core group of Guardians we've come to love, and it's the last James Gunn MCU movie before he leaves to lead DC onto its future. But it looks to be the most emotional Guardians movie yet. There's that sense of finality. You feel like this is a climax for the journey we followed along with these characters. And that's very exciting to me. You feel that emotional weight. You feel those emotional stakes. And while you do see the distinct sense of humor that has made fans embrace James Gunn and Guardians of the Galaxy, it also looks to be the more mature and somber one. The glimpses we have at Rocket's childhood, at his dark past, the glimpses at the High Evolutionary, who looks to be a very menacing villain. It is weird to not be the most excited person for this movie though, because I much prefer Volume 2 to Volume 1. But I also know I'm in the minority when it comes to that. So despite most of the world being disappointed with Volume 2, most of the world is also more excited for Volume 2 than I could ever be. Only because the Guardians just aren't my favorite characters in the MCU. I just don't connect with them as strongly as I do with other characters, as you'll see upcoming on this list. But after Volume 2, and more recently the holiday special, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has all the makings to become my favorite Guardians movie, cementing itself as a pillar in the MCU's legacy and opening the doors for a bright future to the new version of the team. After one, maybe 2 of them die, Rocket is definitely dying, by the way. And hey, ahead of diving into my top 3, don't forget the fun part, where you share your excitement ranking in the comments below. Which comic book movie are you least excited for, most excited for, and which one do you think could be a pleasant surprise? anything and everything down there. And if you're enjoying this list, don't forget all my 2022 rankings can be found in this playlist right up here. And I'm continuing rankings into 2023 with MCU projects ranked by excitement dropping very soon. If you don't want to miss any upcoming lists, or if you just want to talk more movies and TV, this is the place to be. So consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will release 5 years after the original Aquaman. That's what you get when a company is in constant chaotic reshuffling. And the new leadership, the doors opening for the future DCU do not help, as once again it's bittersweet that whatever this film gives us, it's ultimately not going anywhere. I'm a big fan of what James Wan did with the original Aquaman. It's essentially a live-action anime. I understand it's not based on an anime, it's based on comics, but the visuals, the colors, the over-the-top nature, how wild over the top it went with its fantasy setting, it's exactly my kind of comic book movie. It was boisterous and epic, but never afraid to be silly or even have earnest character moments. The action is completely insane. The world, the mythos that James Wan created is just amazing, and I cannot wait to dive deeper into this world. Jason Momoa crushes as Arthur Curry. The Indiana Jones elements that made the adventure in the first film so much fun feel like they're being doubled down in the second one, where the title itself just feels very Indiana Jonesy. And if James Wan was given that much freedom in the original and it made $1 billion, an Aquaman movie made $1 billion, I cannot wait to see how insane he goes with this second one, even maybe doubling down on his horror sensibilities that he brought in just one sequence in the first one. It promises to be weird and nuts in the same way the original Aquaman was the first film to bring real fun into the DCU. And if this is the last time we see this collection of characters and this world, it's a wave I'm ready to ride with Jason Momoa. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania has the unenviable task of setting the tone for Phase 5 of the MCU, a seismic responsibility that not even close befell the previous 2 Ant-Man films. And on its own, it just looks like the most fun, the most important, the most heavy, the most emotional, really the craziest Ant-Man film yet. In being the 3rd chapter of its trilogy, it has similar tonal vibes and elements to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but what makes me particularly excited for this one is that there's just something very compelling about going deeper into the quantum realm and seeing Everyman Scott Lang facing off against Kang the Conqueror. Every frame with this dude just carries this weight of tonal, of emotional, of thematic gravity where he feels like a real threat. Because at this point, we somewhat understand Kang the Conqueror, or we understand the possibilities with him, where we met a benevolent version of him in Loki, but we understand that this man was not afraid of anything else more than himself, or another version of himself. And this could very well be it. A villain that, while seemingly trapped in the quantum realm, feels in control. He knows all, he sees all, he's been through it all, and knows so much more than what he lets on. Practically limitless in how he can and may exploit our heroes. And that's just frightening. To see Jonathan Majors in this role where he can tweak his performance and explore a character in so many different ways. And a face-off between these two just feels so overwhelming for Scott Lang. It's instantly compelling. Plus, I just love the Ant-Man family. I want to see more of them all together in this weird, crazy world that we understand so little of. Plus, it's a film that feels important. It feels like it's tracing a path for Phase 5. And maybe introducing the Fantastic Four. They're stealing my pitch. I still haven't gotten my check from Marvel, but you know it's important when they might introduce the Fantastic Four. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse is our number 1. A sequel that has been a long time coming. That original Spider-Verse, what is there to say that hasn't already been said? The inspiring visuals, the heart, the compelling characters, the reinvention of the Spider-Man message and themes. All those fantastic elements that made us fall in love with the characters, with the world, with the visual style, they're all being carried over. The film is not relying on all of those, but is elevating them and telling its own story that feels bigger, grander, and honestly, more emotional. I love stories about people finding their inner hero by being thrust into greatness. In the original Spider-Verse, you can say greatness is thrust upon Miles, but now he's literally being thrown into the wild multiverse, where he has to work with a team of multiversal heroes, all with different worldviews, different backstories, even different traumas that Miles has to learn to accept and work with while keeping true to his beliefs, his ideals, and who he is. It's a crazy story filled with action, with these crazy multiversal concepts, but at its core is a story about Miles, keeping true to who Miles is, whether he is Spider-Man or not, learning who he is outside of being a hero. Because Miles, or anyone else, cannot be a hero without knowing who he is first. And on top of that, you have the incredibly imaginative, unique Spider-Verse visual palette of the first film that just feels out of control, in a good way, in this sequel, where they have over 60 different animation styles, where every Spider-Man character is animated in a different way. You have Spider-Man from different animated series, and they all have that distinct visual palette from each of their own shows, each of their own movies, and we might even see Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield in animated form in this film. All the Spider-Man just feels so overwhelming in a great way. There's going to literally be a Spider-Man for everyone. And then you have Gwen back, and then you have my boy Spider-Man 2099. The action in Across the Spider-Verse promises to be exciting. The characters promise to be fun. The limits of animation and imagination promise to be tested. But most importantly, it promises to carry the heart that made the original so compelling. The heart that understands and expands on the meaning of being Spider-Man, on the meaning of being a hero, on the messages and themes that were so important to Stan Lee when he first created the character, and that's why Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse comes in at number 1. That's my excitement ranking for all 10 2023 comic book movies. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to talk about these films throughout the year and look back on how much this list bites me, or not, on the ass. Big thanks to my channel members for always supporting the channel, and I'll be back very soon with reviews for these films and more lists. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.